So the Republic of Ireland's long wait for a victory or even a goal in the Nations League goes on, beaten 1-0 by Ukraine here at the Aviva Stadium. I feel like we've had this conversation too many times over the Stephen Kenny reign and over the last 4 or 5 years of Irish football. Ireland started well, good 15 minutes, threw everything at them in the last 10 minutes, but for a good hour of that game, technically we're miles off it. Why were Ukraine's second string team so much better than Ireland?
Yeah, I think second string is being a bit harsh.
Well,
I know
they changed 10 players
they changed
from
10 players,
the team that were brilliant against Wales.
But you'd have to admit they were 10 excellent players. You know, they were a very good side, Ukraine. I think, you know, I'm coming away from this, Nathan. It's disappointing. It wouldn't have been as disappointing if Saturday hadn't have been so poor. But that's the reality of it. You know, we put ourselves in a bit of a situation where we haven't really done our stuff over 2 games. But tonight's game, I'm reminded of the time when I played myself and you know, very lucky to have played, you know, in European games against, you know, clubs from Romania, Ukraine, Russia, you know, Europe, and always came away from the games thinking, how do these guys get to the level that they're at? You know, because in the modern game, you know, I'm just saying this to Joe earlier, you know, we're all, you know, reading from the same, you know, coaching books, same physical conditioning. There's no difference anywhere. The difference is, it's in the players and in their mentality and in their culture. Okay. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get that overnight. Okay.
It's in their quality.
Yeah, it's in their quality. Yeah, but they're from that size up, Nathan. They just are taught differently. You know, whether they're told from that you're brilliant, you're going to be the best player in the world, and they believe it. But I've seen it myself as a player when I played against these kind of quality teams. You look at the Serbia game here. These guys they just have this inner confidence in them, and we're now at a stage where this philosophy of trying to play football and trying to be a little bit more positive and be less direct and so on, it's come to, you know, it isn't going to progress much further. I don't think we can certainly try and maintain that, but we're not going to get any better until there's a cultural change within how the players think, Nathan.
But has Stephen Kenny sold us all a pup? Because he came in and said, I'm never going to say the players aren't good enough. That, you know, he didn't like watching Jack Charlton in Italia 90. He wanted Ireland playing a modern, progressive style of football.
Yeah, which he's
where is it?
Yeah, but we have to look at it. You know, we have to look at this objectively. Okay. It's his job as a manager to come in, try and get us playing a good style of football, and try and get inside the heads of these players and get them going. And I think he's done that to a point. But it's going to stagnate unless we change our mindset as players. You know, you look at the Ukrainians tonight; they're able to just glide across the pitch.
They're able to manager's job.
He's not going to do it. You're not going to do it. He'll only be able to do so much with this group of players. He'd be able to try and he might be able to talk to them.
Then we're come back in 10 years' time when we've had a complete rethink of. There's a new director of football coming in at the
No, it's not. No, we don't need you don't need a new director of football. You don't need anything. We need players that are coming through to start thinking differently, and you know. Look at these players. They're all coming from cities in Ukraine. They're not sort of first world rich cities. They're all working class cities. Same in you know, if I had played against Steaua Bucharest, Romania is a poor country. I've been in parts of Russia which were kips. But these guys they just play football a different way. They just think differently about the game. They have an awareness. They have a swagger about them, you know.
They just have this. They're just better footballers.
They're better football. Yeah, but that's what makes
we look out there. Like,
that's what makes them better footballers. They think differently. That's what makes them better footballers. They think differently. But they think I'm better than you.
But
I'm better than you.
But what I'm asking is that Stephen Kenny, when he came in, and we could sit here and say, and it's very easy to look at those two groups of players, and yes, it was the second string Ukraine side, but their two centre midfielders play for Dinamo Kiev, vastly experienced internationals, play Champions League football, Europa League football, played at a very high level against the best players all of the time. Remember, they got to the quarterfinals of the European Championships 8-9 months ago. So they're a good quality side. But Stephen Kenny made a point constantly when he was coming into this job of saying, I will not question the players. I will not hear anyone say we don't have players that are good enough. You look at that, and what you're basically saying is we don't have players who are good enough to compete at that level.
I think he can get another tune out of these players. I do. I genuinely do. Or I think any manager can get, that thinks differently about the game can certainly do that. But I think these players have more in them to give. I think we have to get this, and I thought it was working. I thought we were getting to a stage where we have to get this. I don't know how to articulate this sort of frenetic kind of back to front style of play out of our heads. We have to. There's a mindset to these players. There's a quality about them. There's a calmness about them. There's a football intelligence there that sort of they exude confidence. You know,
is that the most worrying part from an Irish point of view? It feels in these last couple of games as if they've fallen back into old habits. There were definitely signs over the last year on Stephen Kenny of trying to play football.
I think that's a fair point, Nathan.
Whereas you said, we've seen that performance for 10 years where Ireland come out at start, it's 100 miles an hour, Jason Knight is everywhere, there's a real energy to the crowd, to the performance, and then we throw everything at them in the last 10 minutes. But actually, the control, the possession-based football, the pick and right pass, the centre halves doing something different, they seem to have gone away. I think it's
fair. I think it's a fair point. I think that is definitely a fair point. Certainly, in Armenia game, we looked a little bit bereft of ideas. There was an impatience about our play, and that's probably a key takeaway word. Impatience. Impatience comes into our game, and we don't keep doing the same things that we know will work, the same thing, try and maintain that certain level of calmness and good play and possession. We've sort of stepped away a little bit from that now. So that's his big job, is to kind of, between now and Scotland, is to try and calm them down and get us back playing, get us back on the road again, because these 4 games are in danger of being an absolute disaster. And the Armenian game is the game that has put us right in the
much like Luxembourg, and we stood in this exact same position. I remember after Luxembourg, and both sort of felt that it's going to be very, very hard to turn this around, and they sort of managed to grind it out.
They did. They did turn it around.
Yeah. But even still, there was a sense of the Luxembourg game hung over it, and likewise with Armenia. But they've just lost to Armenia 4 days ago. He's made 2 changes, 1 enforced change. Were you surprised with the selection? Is he getting his team selection right?
To be quite honest, I probably would have went with the pretty much the same team. I just think that we've somewhere along the way we've veered a little bit off the road. We've kind of gone a little bit off road, and we're a little bit out of control.
Where does that come from? Because we can't just say it's gone off road, but from the positivity that was there from, was it 1 defeat in 11, and that was the Portugal game, and Cristiano Ronaldo and all that, and winning 3-0 away from home at Luxembourg and Azerbaijan, albeit not the greatest countries in the world, playing well at times against Belgium, beating Lithuania in the friendly, the positivity, the bit of control. What's happened in the space of 2-3 months that suddenly they found themselves going away from the good stuff?
I don't know. But that's Stephen Kenny's job to figure out. I think if you're in the group, you'll certainly be able to figure some things out, but maybe it's the fact that we haven't been together for 3 months, and people will talk about the the fact that it's at the end of a season and all this kind of stuff. I don't buy into that. I think the last 2 games we've kind of taken a little bit of a step backwards. We've gone back to a little bit, as you suggested, a little bit like the way it was when he first took over. It's a bit impatient, and it's a bit frenetic and bad decision making, and there's a lack of calmness about our play, and a lack of belief in how we want to play. All that's kind of gone a little bit away from us. So it's just a case of getting the group together, and I really think he I hate saying he needs a big performance on Saturday, but he needs to work with these players mentally between now and then and say, you gotta give me more. Like, we have to be calmer on the ball. We have to be braver. We have to be a little bit sharper. A little bit sharper over 5-10 yards. All that kind of stuff. It's all the stereotypical stuff that I'm saying, but it's very much a psychological thing as it is anything else. And
he's under a bit of pressure now. He has the new contract in his back pocket.
I'll always be under pressure. Look,
he'll have a bit of a honeymoon period now where he can get through the Nations League, get a couple of results. But suddenly, as you say, Armenia means that dominates everything. If they don't get a result against Scotland, you're away to Ukraine. It's hard to see. Ukraine will probably be back to full strength then over in Poland. Like, you lose your 4 Nations League games, you're going into the qualifiers just massively on the back foot, and the negativity. And
it is what it is, Nathan. I want to see a cultural change in the game in this country, and whether it's under the helm of Stephen Kenny or someone else, I don't really mind, to be quite honest with you. I just don't want to. But
I think everyone wants that.
Yeah,
and,
I do.
And I want that. But the question, and the people watching this will say,
it's fine. Yeah.
It's senior international football. It's big boy stuff. It's about results. You got to win matches.
Yeah, and if he doesn't win matches, he won't lose his job. He knows that. Everyone knows that. It's as simple as that. It's just, what can he do tomorrow that's going to change how we play on Saturday? And I think maybe we have to. Maybe he has to get them in, have a chat about it, try and have a kind of a broad conversation about what it's all about, and maybe, I've no doubt they'll watch the games again, and maybe you say, have a look at the Ukrainians. Why can't we do that? Why can't we play like that? Why can't we? Where are we falling down? You can have an open conversation with players about that and get the players' point of view. But this is all, whether it changes or not, it's up to the players.
There'll be obviously questions about systems and change of systems, though. Both Armenia and Ukraine played 3 at the back against the Republic of Ireland, and it worked just fine for them. A lot was put on Anthony Barry and how good he was as a coach. He's not there. Do you think this is a factor in what's gone on over the last couple of games, his influence being missed?
I don't know, Nathan, to be honest with you. I mean, if you do, Anthony Barry came in as his first choice when he got the job, and I suppose when you do lose someone that is supposed to have a very good reputation as a coach, it can be a loss. But sure, look at Belgium, they're in rag order as well, to be quite honest with you. Well, they are. They got hammered thumped 4-0 by the Netherlands, so I don't really buy into that. I really do think that the focus has to be on this sort of,
it's hard, like what you're talking about, that
this calmness and confidence.
Geez, that's a hard thing to get when you've just lost 2 games like that. Like,
it is.
It's 10 times harder than when you're on.
Well, confidence is a huge thing, Nathan. And you're quite right. Maybe the only thing he needs to do now is try and get the confidence back up again. I don't think you're going to stop.
What about changes? Anyone there that came on? Like Obafemi? Do you start Obafemi now on Saturday?
Probably Obafemi's probably worth starting now. Colin Robinson looks now to me to be he's hit a little bit of a wall personally. He looks, his decision making isn't right, and he's casting a frustration figure at the moment. So I think Obafemi's certainly come in. He's given the manager food for thought. I'm not a huge believer in changing it too much, because don't forget it's the there's a core group of players that have sort of led this change, but people's memories, people losing memories very quick, and very soon people are going to go change. What change? Because it doesn't seem to be changing too much. So we need to kind of, as I said, we veered a little bit off the road here, and we need to get back on the motorway again, I suppose.
We better leave before the lights go off.
Better leave from my analogies, go out the door.
Will we ever see a competitive win for the Republic of Ireland, Stewie?
I'm sure we will. Yeah. We'll be both here in our 60s or 70s and having a glass of wine.
We'll back here on Saturday. Maybe we'll get it then.
Back here on Saturday.
Back here on Saturday. Ireland, Scotland live, 5 o'clock off the ball. See you then.